Ladies and gentlemen, this episode of the Luke Bryan Show was filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Where's Vanna White? All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Luke Bryan Show. And we're out in Reno, Nevada, and we just finished the West Coast umpire camps. Here we have Jim Evans with us, 28-year big league umpire, and how many years crew chief? 19-year crew chief. We went through a bunch of plays this weekend, so we thought we'd break down one. I think this is one of the most, everyone still thinks this call was wrong. This was an infield fly call by Sam Holbrook in a very big playoff game, and it was a six-man crew. And, well, we'll just take a look at it and break this down as it happens.
Simmons, fly ball, shallow left. Back is Cosma. He'll take it. He'll call. Oh, it's going to drop. It falls. Miscommunication. And the bases are loaded, and Boggs can't believe it.
This crowd's been crazy all night. I wonder if it affected their communication.
They're calling it an infield fly rule. Wow. One umpire did. That's why Freddie Gonzalez is out. Well, this is a huge call here.
You cannot call that an infield fly.
No way.
It's too deep. He wasn't camped.
That ball went up, and infield fly rule was called immediately. This is a game-changing decision.
I think one of the most common things that everyone gets wrong is that an infield fly has to be within this infield dirt.
If you read your rule book, you'll actually see that the infield is defined as a 90-foot square. And that's the way it was in the old days. You had 90 feet square, that was where the bases were, and that was your infield, and everything else was considered outfield.
Yeah.
Grass line has nothing to do with an infield fly. The definition is if it's an infield fly that can be handled by an infielder with ordinary effort.
Some of the comments I've heard on this are, well, that's not ordinary effort. Well, that may be for you as a fan watching, or that may be for your kid as you're going to a Little League game, but this is a big leaguer, and every situation is different. We're discussing very specifically, can Pete Cosma catch this ball with ordinary effort?
Yeah, well, in the rule book now, they're added a definition defining ordinary effort based on the level of play. You know, for maybe a high school game, this would never be considered ordinary effort. For the highest level of professional baseball at Major League, that may be ordinary effort. That's all a judgment call. That umpire thought it was ordinary effort. Mm-hmm. One of the keys to this play is it appeared that the shortstop got comfortable under the ball. And that's one thing you want to look for. You never want to call the infield fly as the guy's going back. And
right.
He may make a great catch and may end up getting a double play. Mm-hmm. But the question is, could he handle it with ordinary effort? And the whole purpose of the rule is to prevent chicanery, trickery by the defensive team.
Yeah, it happened exactly as you said too. This call, and it was called by the left field umpire, actually Sam Holbrook, and this was not called as Cosma's going back on the ball. Mm-hmm. The exact split moments it's called is when he turns, squares up, throws his hands out. This is ordinary effort for Pete Cosma, no doubt about it.
The time to call the infield fly. Never call the infield fly when the ball is still going up. A lot of things can happen. You never signal the infield fly until the ball has reached its apex and has started down, okay? That's where a lot of umpires get in trouble. They'll signal it too quick. They just gave their partner the infield fly signal, and now you got a little pop-up to the infield, and you're thinking infield fly. Infield fly, well, maybe it's in no man's land. Maybe it's right behind the pitcher's mound. A little pop-up there where the shortstop and second baseman are playing back, and nobody can get to that ball, but it's a little pop-up to the infield. Now, if the shortstop and the second baseman were playing in, like on the dirt grass line, then that would be an infield fly, but based on their position. Also, with these big shifts today, mm-hmm. They've got these big shifts where the third baseman is shifted over beyond where the shortstop ordinarily plays. A little pop-up right down toward third base would not be an infield fly for the purpose of the rule. Mm-hmm. Even though it's a little pop-up that would ordinarily be handled, it wouldn't be based on the position of the players.
This is absolutely embarrassing for Atlanta fans.
It was a late call by Holbrook, and I'm wondering if when he yelled infield fly, if that's why Cosma came off the ball. Maybe he heard that sound.
Could have been.
So instead of the bases loaded and McCann coming up, it's going to be 2 on with 2 out. I mean, that is deep in left field. No way that's an infield flyer.
That's why when I was on the road, I'd never read the local newspapers.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't recognize the game, but I just umpired that night. I would read USA Today, supposed to be neutral,
National.
you know, a national publication
Yeah.
instead of a local publication. This is a possible forfeit situation. If you can't control a rowdy crowd like that,
Yeah.
you know, in situations like this, you pull the teams off the field, try to help quell it. And then I would go, as a crew chief here, as it continued, I would go call the press box and have them make a PA announcement that, you know, threaten to lose the game by forfeit if they don't control themselves. So, but especially in a playoff game, you're going to use some patience.
Still delayed here at Turner Field as they remove the debris from the field. There's still debris coming out, not as much as it was a moment ago, but Freddie Gonzalez just a moment ago, and the reason we're back here is because Freddie Gonzalez went to the home plate umpire Jeff Kellogg and he put the game under protest. And Kellogg gives the sign, the P, under protest from the Braves manager.
The procedure on protest is you never make an announcement of a protest without consulting with your crew. You know, you get with your crew and you discuss it and make sure you're making the proper ruling. You get together with your crew without the presence of players or managers or coaches, and you discuss it just like they did. And then you come up with the decision. If you're going to change the call and flip it, then, you know, that
You
may
get
save
ready to talk to the other
yeah.
guy.
So you want to get the play right. You want to get the interpretation right.
Yeah.
So once you agree that the interpretation's correct, then you go explain it to the managers. I'm going to announce this protest. We're going to accept the protest, and then you make sure you write on your lineup card the exact situation: who was batting, what the count was, how many outs there were, and the inning, and that sort of thing. Because if that protest is upheld, then that game's going to be played from that point. Whatever the count was on the batter, wherever the base runners were, they will be put back, and that's where you will resume your protest. So protests are pretty serious. The only thing more serious is a forfeit. The other thing is the mechanic for signaling the protest. You do the backward P for the protest, and then the PA announcer is supposed to announce to the fans that the game is now being played under protest.
I kind of think maybe the misunderstanding by fans, announcers, players probably too, is it's in the name of the rule, the infield fly rule. The misunderstanding is that the word infield in the rule, what it's referring to is the type of player that can catch it with ordinary effort, regardless of whether he's on the infield or not. He can drift back onto the grass. It's referring to the fielder within that play, not some arbitrary measurement of the infield.
I've got a comment on that.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. End of story. We're done. Sounds good. Wrap it up.
These plays really get highlighted when they're in the postseason, you know, like this. You remember in the classroom we were talking about the tangle, untangle in front of the plate, and whether it's obstruction or interference or nothing. Well, you see what happened here in a playoff game on an infield fly, and of course that umpire probably gets booed every time he goes into Atlanta. But on that play that we discussed, the tangle untangle in front of the plate, Larry Barnett had that play in the 1975 World Series. You may remember it with Armbrister and Fisk. And they brushed shoulders and Armbrister yielded, and then Fisk takes the ball up and he throws it wild into center field, and Cincinnati ends up winning the game. Well, for 3 months after the season was over, that World Series, Cincinnati ended up winning. For 3 months after that, he had the FBI and Secret Service following him everywhere he went during the off season. They had to install security lights in his yard at home. He was instructed not to open his own mail because somebody might send a bomb in a mail, you know. And every time he went to Boston, he retired, I think, in '99, and every time he went to Boston, you know, there was a chorus of boos for Larry Barnett. And that was over one play in a World Series.
That was
you know,
correct.
and it was a correct call.
And it was correct. You have a clinic coming up in October.
Yep,
I want
October
to plug
20th
that real
down in
quick.
San Diego.
20th in San Diego. So if you're in Southern California and want to come out to an umpire clinic, all the umpires in the area, or if you're just getting into umpiring and you want to learn a little more about the game.
A lot more.
But I can tell you, just from going to Jim's 5-week school back in 2006, I went through his Academy of Professional Umpiring and got it at minor leagues from there. I can tell you that this is the man to learn it from. So appreciate you being
Thank you
here
very
for the
much.
whole weekend.
Appreciate
Appreciate you being
it.
here.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, audience. Thank you, audience.